Hello, everybody. My name's Milan Starcic. Welcome to Freedom Rising, a podcast dedicated to empowering individuals on the journey to personal growth, lasting serenity, and freedom from addiction. Tune in and join the movement. Your journey to freedom starts here. We neither represent, promote, or demote any 12-step program or organization. We are merely souls on the path of recovery with the desire to expand our lives and experiences and share them with you. Hey everybody, how you doing?
What's up?
Welcome to the 41st Recovery Freedom Rising podcast. I'm here today with co-host Andrew Norman, JJ, and Tracy. That's right. And how is everybody doing today? Tracy, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, yeah. I'm in my 4th year of recovery. I feel like I'm a miracle because I'm a totally different person than I used to be. I keep getting healthier, and I love being in recovery.
Well, that's
Me
amazing.
too.
And so I asked this question of everybody who's new on the program. Can you tell us the pivotal moment that recovery sparked a fire in your heart?
When I realized that I didn't have to do it alone. And that was brought on by my sponsor. And we do the Just for Today. My thoughts will be on my recovery and somebody else believing in me, and then having this program to follow. It just, a light bulb went off,
So it's really interesting that what our topic is going to be today, because right now I'm down in Mexico, and so this podcast will be recorded in Mexico for the next 5 weeks from my side of it. But what I've done is I've gone to 4 different in-person meetings already, and you're not alone anywhere in the world. And so today's topic is recovery around the world. And so I'm going to pass it to Andrew. Andrew, do you want to talk on the subject for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you, Trey J. Good team, Trey J. I love you guys, man. Thank you, JJ, as always, and Tracy. I love you very much. Y'all are very special people in my life, so thank you for coming on here kind of last minute and doing this with us. This is going to be very special. It always is. With that being said, recovery around the world, recovering anywhere around the world is really what I'm hearing, right? Recovery and recovering anywhere around the world is possible. It's possible now. We have possibilities to recover in ways that we didn't have before, and it's really, really special, right? You hear a lot of these stories where when COVID hit, like a lot of people were resistant to change and resisting to this Zoom platform, which we pay Zoom, we pay rent here. We don't endorse Zoom. It's just like this is our way to recover, and it's crazy how the world works. A grateful addict doesn't use, and we're gonna find a way to keep recovering if we want to, right? And we've had a couple of people on this podcast that have talked about how a lot of people went out of this world during that time because they just couldn't get to an in-person meeting, and they were resistant to coming to Zoom. Like, come on, man, what is that pride and ego, because you don't want to come to a Zoom meeting or be a little bit flexible to be able to go to an online meeting that's based out of Zimbabwe or something that'll save your life. Like, come on, what was wrong with us, right? And so we're able to go, recovering anywhere in the world with anybody in the world opens us up to a plethora of opportunities. And what I mean by that is we have the whole. So when I came into this meeting, this fellowship, I didn't think there was, I tried to, complicate my way out, not identify my way in, right? We focus on those differences. Not for me. There's nobody out here in the world like me. And little did I know, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people just like me in these rooms. And so for us to be able to tap into an online one button, go to a website, virtualna.org, right, and get in there and have meetings from literally sun up to sundown, 24 hours a day, and to be able to hear the message and feel at home, like I said, so being able to do that is very special and very important. I think it's something that people they take it for granted now, right? maybe, and y'all can speak to like the before and after of that, but that's when I started coming into these meetings. I got clean on the screen, and I can go anywhere in the world and feel at home, right? Home is not a place, it's a feeling. We talk about it all the time. And so I can go anywhere in the world for $0, Tracy. The seventh tradition. I don't need a quarter in my pocket, and I can roll up to an NA meeting, get a hug, stay clean, get prayed in that room, prayed out of the room. I don't care if I even know the language. I'm gonna feel the love and the compassion in between. I'm gonna stay clean while I'm doing it. And that's the most important thing,
And
right?
here's some cool accents.
Right. And get some culture. Let's get some recovery culture going on here, right? Like embrace that shit. It's really, my sponsor, I've never met him. He's in a totally different area than I am, but I get more out of that man than I would, than I do my father.
Wow. Yeah.
So you talk about being able to recover from anywhere in the world. When we do step work, we get on a WhatsApp, face to face, and it's like it's very intimate when I do step work with Sean, right? It's very, very intimate, and so people want to talk about the in-person meetings and how important they are, and I get it. The hugs you need those, but don't be stubborn and let that pride take over, and allow that pride to take over, and then not go to an online meeting because it's what we have to do now to stay clean. Like don't do that to yourself. I was talking about it the other night. What does pride stand for? Pride stands for one of the primary reasons I die early. Don't let that shit happen, man. Don't let that shit happen. So with that being said, sponsors anywhere in the world, Milan's in Mexico, y'all are in West Virginia, I'm over here on the East Coast. We're sitting here recovering, helping all of us out. This is therapy for us too. This isn't just for anybody listening. Right. And so the online meetings, and then JJ, before we came on, you talked about it, the World Convention. We got a World Convention now. How many people, and y'all can speak to that a little bit when we get more into the discussion, because y'all went to the World Convention this year and it was nuts from what I hear, from just what y'all tell me about.
Washington, D.C.
It was insane. Yep. And what was the topic? I just need to hear it.
The power of love.
Ooh, not quite acceptance, but not bad.
Ooh, thank you.
I mean, that's right up Andrew's alley.
It is.
That's what he is all about.
That's our thing. We always joke about love and acceptance.
It's like a love and acceptance tug of war between him and I. So,
yep.
And honesty's right in the middle of it. Honesty's right in the middle of it because you need it with that. So that kind of opens up that broader discussion. If y'all want to go ahead and Miss Tracy,
JJ,
excuse me.
Yeah, roll on in, JJ.
I'm JJ, and I'm an addict. So grateful that I did not use today. I have a choice not to, and to be on this podcast and to grow up and to feel the power of love and to accept the power of love. So I appreciate you guys asking us to be here and participate in recovery. And Milan, are you in Puerto Vallarta? Where are you in Mexico?
I'm in Sayulita, so 35 minutes north. I'm on my rooftop patio. If I took off my background, I could turn and show you the ocean, but...
I can hear the monkeys, man. You're in the jungle.
Well, there's definitely the chachalacas around here, yeah.
At the end, you'll have to show us, Milan. At the end, you'll have to show us.
Yeah, but for sure.
No, that's beautiful. Listen, this topic is amazing because this message of recovery, I've been in recovery for a minute, and the predecessors of 12-step recovery is where I found life. And Narcotics Anonymous was not in my area. And when I think about our history, which involves the predecessors, and how the 12-step message of recovery spread around the world, and each fellowship has had its own adventure. And I'm so grateful for how Narcotics Anonymous has taken this 12-step recovery message and just opened it so wide open, to be aware of addiction in all its forms. And, NA's got my heart. I will forever be grateful to the predecessors that forged the way. And again, this is now a worldwide message, and it's been that way for decades. But I guess I wanted, as you guys were talking about the Zoom platform, because it was weird to me. I'm old school, and I've said this before. It's like I'm more at home in a cave with charcoal on the wall than I am trying to figure out what the password is to some internet connection, right? Like I'm just not as comfortable with it. But and I got Tracy to thank for really leading me into a Zoom platform and the online meeting. And I'll be honest, it took me a year to get comfortable. When you get clean, being able to touch and feel and look in the eyeballs, and they're like this is so incredible, but it still does not replace the third and fourth dimensional relating of someone in person.
In your opinion?
No, well, here it is. It's really the three-dimensional issue, because right here we have a two-dimensional connection, and we also have a fourth dimensional connection, which is spiritual. And that's what Andrew said. Pride, I would say, it was fear for me. Like I just was uncomfortable. I couldn't relate with the talking head as it being sincere. But the longer I came around, the more I accepted the message, and the comfort, and and the trust that I built with the people, that I met online. Andrew being one, and it was a year or more after I was on, on Zoom, that I met Andrew. But at that point, this works, man. It really does. And I'm so grateful to my friend who brought me. And that's how God works. My entire recovery has been about the connections that, that I make and I keep and I pursue. And, I'm so grateful. And so, yeah, I've got a story about the World Convention, but maybe Trey needs to input a little bit for now.
Real quick, I wanted to say one thing. These two right here, Milan, these two travel. One of their purposes is to travel the country and meet other addicts like myself. Like there was a time where we were going to meet. It was on my work schedule that I couldn't make it. But they take pictures with other addicts, and it's like one of their purposes. It's really, really cool.
Send me some of your photos and I'll put them on the end of some episodes.
We want to do that. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah. We're literally looking for people's pictures of the freedom rising in your life. Right?
Oh my goodness. When the first thought that came to my mind was a friend that's no longer with us. Thank God he did not die.
Same thing with me.
But it was so cool that we got to
rest
meet
his heart.
him. We got to meet him like in March, and he died in like May, I believe.
Yeah, 2 months later.
Love you, Paul.
Yeah.
Smile, let's get
Paul G. So he got an infinity chip.
That's right.
But that's the reality of Zoom, that we get to meet people that's not too far away. We went to North Carolina last December for Christmas break. I work at a college, so I was off for a couple weeks while the college is closed for Christmas. And Jim is almost retired. He's just about retired, backing out of his business that he built from ground up. And then from North Carolina, we went to South Carolina, like the ocean. Yeah, where was it?
to Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, but we went to Myrtle Beach. We went to meetings in Myrtle Beach. We met Billy or somebody that you knew. Yeah, and we went. Yeah, and then we went to Florida, and then we went to Key West, and we went to meetings everywhere we went that
Recovering
winter.
all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love that you got clean on the Zoom platform, because you don't hear a lot of people that actually got clean on Zoom, Andrew. And I did not know that you were, I don't forget what they call it, a Zoom baby or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
But that's amazing. Yeah, I remember, that year, 2020, I was fighting for custody of my children. Um, that was my rock bottom. I had to
Talked
lose my
about it every
children.
day. You talked about it every day.
Yeah, I do. I still don't have my youngest child, but I did get my daughter back. Um, my son's 15, so, I don't have much longer to wait when he turns 18. But that was the reality of 2020. I lost my children, was fighting to get them back, and Zoom kept me clean. You know, the global love bus kept me clean for a year. I was a home group member. We have a parking lot in Zoom that you can come before, like a half an hour before the meeting, half an hour or however long after the meeting that they want to stay, on. And you can be of service that way to others, by being able to talk more openly. Um, and it's powerful. That's the power of love, being there for one another. um I love it. I love being in recovery. Thank
She's fired up for recovery, Mr. Milan. I can tell you that right now. That woman's fired
Recovery
up.
fever. I'm burning
Recovery
up.
fever. He's burning up with it. Burning up with it.
Oh my gosh, I've started doing this James Brown voice down here where I'm like, I'm going to get some recovery. Let's go to the meeting. And yeah.
He's even got me dancing on some. He's got me doing the jig every once in a while. It's pretty crazy.
Oh, I actually, Andrew's got some moves. He's like secretly got some moves. The reason that I wanted to do this topic today was because, first of all, this town was a place that, 16 out of my 17 times down here, I was a disaster here, So first of all, it was like, okay, like I'm going on a trip, which means my recovery is going on a trip. Like my recovery is a big part of my life now. And so I do an online meeting. That's where I met Andrew. And this lady over Christmas, I thought she was in Mexico and she was looking for a meeting, comes on to our meeting. And then at the end of the holiday, she's like, oh, I'm going home to Sayulita. She was visiting somebody in Canada, like, because she had moved here from Canada. And I was like, oh, you're from Sayulita. Cool. I'm like, hook me up with the meetings. Like, and so not only has she hooked me up when the meetings are, but she's like driving me and some other people in recovery to these other meetings in other towns nearby. And it's like, we walk into the first meeting and two of the people that are in my home group in Canada came down, or three of them did, but like two guys and one girl. And so I had three recovery friends traveling with me. And so we walk into the meeting, the first meeting we go to, and they're like, oh, you're from out of town. Okay, who's got the most recovery? I'm like, Jesse, the lady. They're like, okay, you're the speaker tonight. Who's got the second most? I'm like, Gabriel. He's like, Gabriel's the chair tonight. Like, it was like we were running their meeting in like within 10 minutes. And it was just amazing. Like, not only did they kind of like embrace us, but they just like, boom, let's throw you into service. Let's get you like, keep your recovery solid, pulling them right in. And to me, it was like amazing. Like, I'm like, this is just awesome. Like, I instantly just felt part of a group here. And then boom, go to another meeting. And it was like, and at this meeting, there was people from like 5 different countries there, and two locals out of 28 people, which was amazing that, like just boom, converging. Go to the next meeting. It's like in another town, another speaker lady, not even from there. Same thing. And then, yeah. I mean, I've done a couple service positions in a couple nights that I've been there. Like, and what I realized is that, first of all, there's recovery everywhere. And because we carry it right here in our hearts and we're sharing it everywhere we go. And it's just incredible, you know. And one thing that I remember you starting to talk a little bit of history before, JJ. Like at some point on today, I would like for you to talk about, like your knowledge of how it grew, from from whence it came. At some point, whenever you're ready and whenever the time's right. But to me, I just oh, and not only that, oh, then my friend Corey, who was with us, Corey got a sponsor from here while he was here. He was
Oh
searching
my
for a new
God.
sponsor. Yeah. He and then his sponsor, like they
That's so
already did
awesome.
step work yesterday and he drove him to the airport today.
That's
Like
so
it's just
ridiculous.
it's like, and yeah, like recovery is unfolding all over the place. And when you got recovery fever, it's on fire. It's on fire everywhere.
It just catches, man. It catches like a
Yeah.
wildfire. It's a wildfire.
There was so many interesting people at the the people that shared at the World Service. Jim, you want to
Yeah.
share
Tell us about
that?
that for a bit, guys.
Yes, please.
Well, I was going to wait my turn, Andrew. If you want to follow Milan.
Let's go on.
Yeah, let's just back. We'll watch you guys talk
I
conference.
want y'all to talk about yes.
Well, Milan's got me thinking about a number of things. One thing I don't want to forget was that I had the blessing of being out of the country in outside of Cancun, Mexico, in Isla de Mujeres, when my youngest daughter got married and had a destination wedding. And I had not, well, no, I'd been out of the country before, I'm sorry. But it had been, years. And in the little town of Isla, as I was walking through, the streets, I saw an AA sign outside of a funky old building, right? So I took note, went, wow, here we are, right? Our predecessors. And a couple of days later, I decided I needed to hit a meeting. And I went in, and it was nothing but Mexicans. There was no English spoken in the meeting. And I sat there listening because it's like the language of the heart. Like I could almost
You could feel the hearts connect.
Yeah, it was cool. Plus, I love to listen to Spanish being spoken. But that was interesting.
You get the emotion and the love regardless.
Yeah. No, it's very cool. Again, Milan talked about meeting all these people in person. Like that to me is important. Our online connections are amazing. And when Trey and I went to the World Convention, which was in DC this summer, Andrew, David S. and Heather Feather from Love
Oh yeah.
Well, they were there, and we made a point of.
They're from Canada.
From them, yeah, they're from Milan. Although
they're sweethearts, both of them. I love them both.
Oh, they're wonderful, man.
Oh, I know every David in Canada.
They're both truck drivers.
And they're truckers too. Milan, go figure, right? Either work for the oil rig or they're truckers. One of the two.
Oh no, keep going on the conference.
Keep going, keep going, buddy.
But the world, it was amazing. And I mean, there was so many freaking people in person. But what was really, the worldwide effect of the message of Narcotics Anonymous, there were people from all over the world. And the final day, wow, this just nails me, is that, and I can't remember exactly. I looked it up earlier and couldn't find it, but there was a panel of, I want to say there were 3 people in person on stage and 2 people on Zoom. And the people on stage, one was from the Ukraine, one was from Spain, and the other was, well, one of the 3 in-person speakers at World to close the meeting out. I think it was Saturday night. What was deaf, and I believe he was from Utah. But to imagine the world that he was in, not being able to hear anything, and now he's got a gig where he's signing the message for other deaf people.
Wow.
So, like that was part of the experience. But I said that, as I remember, there was a woman from Spain that was an off the hook share. She was just freaking hilarious and a real addict from Spain. And then there was a guy from the Ukraine, and he shared how he fellowshiped with people from Russia. He had to travel with recovering addicts from Russia.
Wow.
So it's like the power of love in this fellowship.
There's a war going on.
There's a war going on, man.
Come on.
These two cats are loving and supporting one another. And so this message is so important. Then there were two Zoom speakers, so everyone in the freaking convention hall or halls that were plural, we're seeing just like we're doing right now. There was a guy from Israel that shared, his experience and his perspective that was, was off the hook. I remember the last speaker was a woman from South Africa who had an amazing accent and was just dressed beautifully. And she was involved in translating the basic text in like 12 or 13 different tribal dialects.
Wow.
So like,
that's crazy.
Somewhere in the freaking jungles of South Africa, there are addicts getting clean. And so when we talk about the worldwide message, and she didn't make the trip, but by God, she shared her experience, man, which is our experience, and whether we're in person, or we're looking at a screen, but it's trustable, it's real, it fucking works. And the step process, it's amazing. I love hearing, because my sponsor died after 30 years, and I didn't, like my last year with him, I was in touch with him every day. I didn't even consider like what would happen after Barry died, and at what, and he finally died. And so I'm sponsored. And I remember, like, and because I've always had, my sponsor's always been someone to reach out and touch. And so, and one of my considerations was getting someone online. I talked to a couple people in conventions that were from Baltimore, and so it's really cool to hear a story like, I met my sponsor in freaking Mexico, and we did step work, and I will continue. My experience in sponsorship, I've done step work with other dudes in sponsorship with me that work on the road. So we'll do it over the phone. It would be, video call, but it's a phone call. And I'm grateful that my sponsor meets me in person, but it's interesting in that he will not make it. He won't have a phone call meeting with me. So, I love this. I'm going to have to tack his up the line in this. Hey, but that's it for now. I love you.
Hey, I love you. And I asked you to turn your video on if we want to try that again. We'll try to roll with that for a little bit. See if that works. Milan? You.
Nice. There we go.
There's
the two good-looking people.
We're back.
But that's pretty cool, man.
It's
12 tribal languages. You think about, what is it? How many basic text versions do we have now, and how many languages?
I don't know.
It's like 60 or 90 or something crazy like that.
So, yeah, I think it's 90. It's the last printed thing that I read.
And Sean, actually, it reminds me of a story. Sean had me speak at he didn't ask me to speak. I went and watched him speak at a all boys adolescent facility where it was like 350 people, and they were all in like, no AC. You could tell it was just a rundown building. There was one basic text for all 350 recovering addicts in the whole building. One.
Wow.
So we were. It was a fundraiser where he was speaking online on Zoom to this group, and a few of us attended, and they were raising money so that they could buy more basic techs for that facility, and you should have seen it, like when Sean shared, and then like we came on and shared afterwards, like these kids were so excited about the message, and knowing that they can come out of the depths of hell, right? Because they're in just a really tough spot, coming out of, living in, dirt buildings and things like that, right? And they're seeing, there was other people that had attended the meeting on Zoom that had went to that same facility and had gotten out of it and had started a new life, and we're talking almost perfect English, and it was just a really, really cool, really cool thing to be a part of. And this just shows a little bit of the range that we have worldwide with this thing. We never know, I say it all the time, we never know how far our reach goes. You never know when a simple act of kindness or when your message will change somebody's life or change the world. Simple act of kindness can change the world, so yeah, it's very important.
JJ and I are only 2.5 hours away from DC, so I've visited DC many a time, and it's the reputation of that there's a lot of kind of like stuck up people. It's just I don't know how to explain it, but when we went to World, like, it was so welcoming with so many people there. I mean, what was it, 5,000-ish? Okay, 15,000. Yeah.
That's a lot of people. Wow, that was pre-registration, I heard.
Everybody saying hello to one another, holding the door for one another, hugging. And we met so many people. We went out to dinner and we had like 20 people we met from North Carolina.
Yeah, there were friends that I had made in North Carolina that went to World, and we had a whole night with them, man. Yeah.
Did y'all attend any meetings locally, like any local meetings while you were there? I'm sure they were pretty crazy too. No, didn't get to do any of that.
No.
I almost went up there not to go to the convention, but to go to the meetings on the outside, on the outskirts, because I knew everybody would be up there.
Right.
Oh, that would be good to support. Other meetings.
Yeah, but it was a madhouse.
I'm going to the AA convention, the World Convention in Vancouver next year.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got my tickets to that. They're saying something like 60,000 people.
I was going to say, I bet that's really big.
Yeah.
Wow. Y'all ever been to one of those?
For so much longer.
I was at the AA World in Atlanta, which was, I don't know how many years ago, 6 or 8 years ago. And there was a shit ton of people. And it was almost a little too freaky with the amount of people, but it was an amazing experience. And I was thinking, I've been to a lot of meetings in DC, and in my early recovery, most of them were AA meetings. But it's because we are everywhere, not just worldwide. But I would hit the road and I would bar hop. I'd be in a bar every freaking night, and hooking up with somebody with drugs. And to be able to go anywhere, and dial up a meeting, and like Milan already said, I'm home and I'm there.
We got recovery everywhere.
Yeah. It's amazing. Then we talk about that comrade and fellowship in the bar room at a freaking crack house, But what we experience is such an amazing real life, and you don't know it until you get in it, man.
Yeah, and you're being a giver, not a taker.
That's a big part of why I wanted to do this podcast, is so that people see the fun and the love and recovery, and not just like the shitty image of Loudermilk of a bunch of depressing people sitting in a circle. Look at us all right now. We're all happy, recovering people. We're not like a bunch of sulky, sad sacks.
No, and people ask me, "Look, are you getting paid for that?" And every time I'm like, "No, I'm not." Like, no, and they're like, "Well, why?" And I'm like, "You don't get it, man. I just can't explain it to you, man. Just listen to the podcast. If you don't get anything out of it, you don't need to listen. This is therapy for me, and if it's gonna touch somebody else, it's gonna be on paper like for somebody else. Then hell, fucking yeah, I'm all in." You
The
know,
paycheck is it's way beyond
the
money,
paycheck
man.
is spiritual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, it really is. It's peace and serenity and the joy that you only get when you've been a superb, supreme fuck up. You know, when you've been unmanageable and powerless and a punk for your addiction.
JJ always
Yeah.
says it's the bottle that never runs dry and the bag that never empty. Yeah,
Yep.
never runs out. Never runs
Yep.
out.
That's right. I love it.
We show up here to just replenish, man, get filled back up again.
I love it, man.
Yeah. And it's everywhere. And you know, like there's even this weekend, like you had to have tickets, but there's an AA convention in Puerto Vallarta. I guess like 600 people, 600 people meeting down there. And at some of the meetings, people are like, oh, yeah, I'm just coming through on my way down for a meeting on the way. Like, you know, just a little snack on my way to the meal.
There's shit going on. You don't even know there's conventions and fellowships going on all around us. And we're part of it. And we don't even know it. That's how much is going on, man. Tap into
I have
that.
not found a Spanish meeting around here though. Like there's so many tourists. Like I want to go to a Spanish meeting. I want to see
Sure,
what
you can
I'll
find one.
understand.
You'll find one. You can find one.
I'll find a honey badger. Find it. That's right.
Yeah. Hey, we also went to Puerto Rico. We were in Rincon.
Rincon.
Rincon, and there was an in-person meeting that we couldn't find.
That's right.
We tried.
We looked for 2 meetings, man. And there were two NA meetings, and we were so excited. And the hour came and went, and didn't nobody show up. And so
Yeah, I think the printing was wrong on the. Yeah.
Well, the maps took my friends to the wrong place for the meeting, and it was only because I had hooked up with that girl that I found the right place because she sent me a pin. And my friends are like, no, the meeting's here, and I'm like, where? Like they literally like we got in a golf cart, drove there, and I'm like, I know where it is, and they're like, no, this is what the maps say, and I'm like, you can't always believe the maps, like. Especially in Mexico, like no way.
Right.
But, you know, we met. We in Puerto Rico. We met a friend of mine that I've known through my recovery. Really important. He married a woman from Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, and they happened to be down there at the same time. So, you know, we were able to fellowship and at least relate on a recovery level.
Yeah.
You know, Rich has been really important in my life over the years. So, yeah. It's this amazing opportunity we have to transcend the difficulties. You know, not like we don't have shit happen in our life, but, you know, the methods and the attitudes, you know, the new perspective that we help each other have, like, get your head out of your ass, man. You know, find some gratitude in whatever's going on. Because if you find that, you know, that's a toehold, you know, that will lead you to a place of peace and serenity. When we get caught in the chaos, you know, and I don't know about you guys, but there's a part of me that's really comfortable there. And I'll go stir that shit pot sometimes. You know, less and less and less because I'm understanding. No, leave it be, man. You know.
Yeah.
That's because of that disease we have that wants us to self-destruct.
Yeah.
It's a disease of dis-ease, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Exactly. I felt myself doing that last night, man. That exact thing, and I'm just like, whoa, slow this down. You know, it's an internal battle. You know,
It is.
Absolutely. And it's like breaking free of habits that you've had. Like for me, it was 51 years when I came into recovery, right?
Wow.
It's like undoing 51 years of a pattern.
Yeah. And an addict not using is in an abnormal state, as our literature tells us, man. So, you know, we were all in an active addiction. Yeah, it does. Flip. You're absolutely right. Because
it will flip because, like, you know, like I'll punch a motherfucker before I get high. You know, it just won't happen.
I've heard you say that on the meeting too. I'd rather get jumped by like 10 dudes and fight 10 dudes than go drink a beer right now.
Yeah, the observation of the drunk person is a quick way for me not to feel like drinking. Like I'm just like, holy
Right.
shit,
Yeah.
you're so stupid looking. I'm like, I'm smelly, and I'm like, okay, that's fine.
I just go,
I'm like,
thanks for the reminder, man. Thank you.
yeah,
for the
that's right.
reminder.
Talk all
That's
loud.
for sure. Mhm.
Mhm.
So I started a beach meeting here on the off days when there isn't the other meetings, and we've had seven of us, up to seven of us at them right
Look
before
at you, man.
sunset. So it's like
Proud of you. That's cool.
pretty cool. I take down like the Living Clean book and we like randomly like finger on a
My
page, a paragraph,
favorite.
and we read that paragraph. And then the coolest thing, this is it. So with that low number of people, we do 2 rounds of sharing.
Love
Like
it.
2 rounds of sharing is really cool because everybody gets to say something once. And then boom, on the second round, all those like, oh man, I wish I would have said that. You could say it now.
You just started an in-person podcast in Mexico. You just started an in-person podcast hybrid meeting. It's a hybrid podcast in-person meeting where you can ask follow-up questions. The crosstalk.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I can't help but think this. Is that in my using years, I would want to hang out with Milan because you are getting fucked up all the time.
All the time. All the time. Look, he talks about it all the time. He goes, I was using drugs thinking of not really getting the use of drugs because I'm worrying about using drugs that I'm not using drugs enough while I'm using drugs. Like he was that guy.
I was like the desire stacking.
You know, but
it's using stack.
Some are sicker than others.
you know what again, my experience and observation is somewhat, it's like the connections that I make in service are like the heavy connections that I made in the using world.
Right.
You know, like you
Right.
had your people and the people in service. And Milan, you're fucking in service, man, up to your eyeballs. You know, so are you, Andrew. You know, it's amazing, man. You are the dealers that I need to freaking deal with. You know,
We're the plugs.
Yeah.
We're all each other's plugs, man. Like in
Yeah.
one way or another, right? It's
I
our new
like to
plug.
surround myself with the fever. The fever. We got the fever, man. We're burning up, JJ. Woo!
We're
I
never
love
gonna
it.
lose
I
it. We're
love
never gonna
it.
lose it if we stay around each other. It's like the common cold, man. We're gonna always catch it. You know, enthusiasm about this program is what we do. It's what we're doing here, right?
you know, and that tradition, attraction, not promotion is so important. You know, people get hung up in this promoting sometimes, like telling everyone what to do and how to act. And you know, I know that that can be done in an attractive way. We need to hear the message, but you know, I love that tradition. You know,
Yeah.
am I being attractive?
Yeah, and I think it's like, if you're burning a bright light, the flies are going to come around at night.
Mhm.
And I just think that, like that's the one thing I learned from parenthood is you ain't telling a kid how to do shit. Like you ain't telling a kid how to do shit, but they're going to do every single thing you do. Good, bad, or ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, it's the same in recovery. It's like, like nobody's gonna want to come to a meeting if you're a bunch of arguing, fighting, sad sacks, right? Like, like that's have fun selling recovery to someone who's high when they walk in the room and saw that, and that's what like I didn't see a happy side to being sober until I got in the program. So I want to show that to other people so that it's at least in their queue of options. Because I didn't even see it in the queue of options. I didn't see happy sobriety. I saw lonely, quiet, desperate, grumpy, resentful sobriety. Like, and that's like, and that's not my experience being here. I having done the steps, but like, and I'm telling you, I truly believe, like, if you're gonna white knuckle with no program, I think it would be pretty hard to have an awesome, happy sobriety. Without the step work, my life wouldn't have changed.
You got that right, man.
Yeah.
You know, and as you are making a clear recovery message, but you dropped this freaking little piece of gold. I know to me and Tracy both, because you're related to your children. You know, she's got a 16-year-old. I've got a 20-year-old that wants to move back into my house. And like, you know, you just have to be like, here, that, you know. I don't know, you know, like this is one of the benefits of serious recovery that you even said that, Milan, that your children teach you the importance of being attractive and not promoting. I love you, bro. Like that's major for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Jim and I are on the committee of special events in our area. And my mom has come to an event. Yeah. My daughters have come to a picnic. Mom came to a chili cook-off. She
So
helped me
cool.
fix my chili. Yeah.
So cool.
And then any anniversary I have, my family's there. You know, and they're just amazed at how cool the program is. And sometimes like the hall, the fellowship hall or whatever. But yeah, my girls, they really surprised me by showing up at a picnic that we had. Special events had a picnic, and both of my girls came, you know, with you know, the family of the fellowship, and then, you know, my biological family showing up. It's just a great memory, and I hope there's more to come. I hope you guys don't mind, but that idea of saying about the fever, that you have the fever, we have a camp jam every year. We have to think of like a new T-shirt, like whatever a theme is going to be called on Camp Jam 9. And some ideas was running through my head with like something with the fever, maybe with wings, like the NA symbol with wings, and something about the fever.
And y'all got to come up with the theme, you two?
Well, no, any of us. It really,
okay.
You know, it typically is from the literature, you know, some quote from the literature. So I don't know if fever is in our literature somewhere, but that would be, you know, Trey was, she kicked ass on our last theme that really came from service work and the 4-step flat book, you know, that that describes the layers of the onion, which we've all heard about that.
Yeah,
you know?
There's way more layers than we think when we start peeling that bitch back, and some of them are stinky. They make us cry.
Well, you know, I've read this book a shit ton of times, and it's on page 31. They're right after the suggestion, which I know so many of us have heard, peeling the layers of the stinky onion. But the unbelievable, new to me, and I've read it so many times, but I get caught up in the layers of the onion. We remove them because it reveals a pure and healthy spirit, a pure and healthy spirit at the core. That's the reason we do it is, like, I mean, imagine that we actually have, I mean, what addict accepts the fact that they have literature? We have a pure and healthy spirit at our core.
Yeah.
Like, what an amazing awakening.
The meaning of life is to give life meaning, right? You know, and Sean tells me this all the time, that my the literature is God's love letters to addicts.
Nice.
And we've talked about it earlier on in this podcast where we're getting it's getting translated in all these different languages and in all these tribal languages. I mean, that made, when you told that story, it made the hair on my body stand up. Like that is, it's magical. It's magical shit, right? So, but what it does is it allows us to have a unified worldwide message, and it gives us all a point to connect, right? Because, you know, when we all come on here, whether we're talking in one language or the other, when we talk through our literature, and none of us are doctors here, none of us are therapists here, and even if we are, that is not our role here when we're in these meetings and when we're in these rooms. But like what it does is the literature, when we read these literatures, which is written for us by us, right? It allows us to have an accountability factor with really any newcomer coming in, um, and anyone across the world, because they're reading the same literature we are. It might be in a different language, but it allows us to connect and have that lingo with each other, and it allows us to have an understanding that, hey, you've been there too, right? Like, you're not alone.
Right.
I've had to read about myself too, right? And here's how I feel about it. And it's therapeutic, man. It's that, the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel, you know?
And we keep growing every year. I don't know how many more meetings worldwide there are, but it just keeps growing. Yeah.
Yeah. We
And
we as we bring people in, what is it? The symbol, the broader the base, the higher the point of freedom for all of us.
When Trey said that, is that we keep growing. She was talking about the fellowship, but for me, it's like I watch her grow. She grows every freaking day, man.
I've watched her too. I've watched her too. I didn't even know I was watching her grow, and I was
No,
watching her grow.
it's amazing. The same with you, Andrew. Bro?
Yeah.
yeah, Andrew, through Meeting Makers, I met one of my sponsees who lives on the opposite part of the country. She lives in Washington State. I'm on the East Coast. And she is the most reliable. She contacts me the same time every day. She doesn't miss a beat. She's working the steps. She calls to discuss it every weekend. We have, but yeah, she's amazing. And we're that far apart.
And I'm glad you opened up that broader discussion with the sponsorship piece, because what this has done with this Zoom platform and being able to connect to people all around the world like that for no money, for $0, as long as you're willing to do it and have that open mind to come in here and get yourself better. Like, it gives us a world of it's like a big pond that we can now fit. We used to be, and even when I came in here a few years ago, it was like it was a strong suggestion to get an in-person home group and get an in-person sponsor. And I never really understood that. Like, I can get so intimate with somebody like we are right here. Like I'm right in front of you. Right. And when I'm working steps with Sean, like on a FaceTime or something, it's almost just as, if not more intimate, being able to be in our own surroundings and be more comfortable speaking about these crazy things that we talk about in our 4 steps and our steps, right? It gives us more of a comfortable atmosphere to open up, right?
Yeah.
If you can embrace that part of it, but you gotta be open-minded to, like, you gotta be fluent, man. This disease cannot hit a moving target. You got to keep it moving.
Right.
Got to keep it
Right.
moving.
And
And
it
so, yeah, it's great.
truly feels like family, especially if you go to the same Zoom meeting, and the majority of the same people are there. I mean, it just feels like real family.
Yeah, we're looking for you. If you're missing a couple of days, we come looking for you.
That's
We will
right.
come. Imagine if I went missing from Meeting Makers and didn't say anything to anybody for 3 days. They'd send cops to my house. There'd be police at my house, man. You laugh. You laugh because it's probably true.
Yeah. Well, it was cool because I was missing Sydney the other day.
Yeah.
And I kicked her a text, and then the next night she was on the meeting. I mean, she responded and said she's okay, and she said why she had missed some meetings, right?
Yeah.
It was so cool to then see her like the next night.
Yep.
Yeah, and we've never met the one addict. I forget her first name, but she has relapsed several times. And when she relapses, she thinks that we're going to come to her house because we know the city she lives in or something. It's kind of funny.
That's so funny. That's funny. Yeah, but it's so crazy because people think that when they go out, and look, I'm gonna keep it into to the way I feel about it. I think about relapsing now, guys, and it scares the shit out of me, man. It scares the shit out of me. I don't know if I could come right back into the rooms. I think that my mind tells me y'all just wouldn't hear from me for about 3 weeks. I would send everybody in a tizzy, right? Get everybody all worked up, and then I would come back with my tail tucked between my legs, and I'd be like, I just, like the Wendy's of the world that have come on here and shared her experience of 32 years clean and going out, and now she's got 18 plus months, and she's fucking rocking recovery in service, hosting our meetings, like has a whole new like that. I think about the courage it takes to do that.
Yeah, and if you're lucky enough to come back.
If you're lucky enough, yeah. She was back under a bridge. She said one of her people that she knew from NA used to see her frequenting this area where like homeless people were, and she was starting to go back out there. And she's like, what is Wendy doing down by the bridge? Like, she had 32 years clean, and then she brought her back to meetings. Said, come to start going to meetings with me again.
Her message though is so powerful because if you listen to it and she shares it, it's like we get to see why you pick up. Like all of a sudden, and I've heard people say, oh, I want what I had, I wish I had my 33 years back, or not that she ever said that, but it's like, the reality check for me is, well, look at what you had was not good enough. It wasn't good enough if the result was that you picked up. So, like humble yourself and Wendy will share what happened, Yesterday's JFP talked about the daily maintenance. When do we,
that's your 10th step.
It's our 10th step. And I know that my experience is that I'll have a situation, I'll remember, I'll say, this is why I used. I don't for a minute about using because it's just like a death sentence. But it's like, okay, this stress, this bullshit is why I would pick up. And then I'll pick up I'll tell somebody about it.
But that's how this whole thing works, JJ, because like it's a story like Wendy's that keeps you on your toes, right? 100%. Because you got 36, 37 years and she's got 32 and can go out like that. Didn't even know it. She was running conventions, running areas, and can go out like that.
Right. But she will allow that she started spacing out. She got like maybe OD'd on service. Like there's a rhyme to her story, and she's done the inventory to know why she chose to pick up.
Yeah.
It was getting far enough away. And God is so incredibly important. And you're right. And God's blessed me with, like, I recently heard about somebody with 41 years going to mother. Wow. And it's in my history, I would hear shit like that. I'm coming up on 5 years, and I hear about somebody picking up after 7, and it was like, whoa, are you kidding?
Crazy, man. Crazy. Hey, Milan, good to see you. Hey, good to see you.
Grateful to be back, man. We're definitely having some computer issues there with the computer. So, there seems to be something where it drops out on my computer, but then I could come back on my phone.
Hey, we rolled right through it. We rolled right through it, man. We were talking about kind of sponsorship and how, Tracy has a sponsor that's all the way in California. I have a sponsor in Connecticut that I've never met, and I can be more intimate with my sponsor doing step work than if I'm in person, right? Even
that's right.
I can be more comfortable in my own surroundings doing it face to face and feel more vulnerable to really talk about those questions and really get gritty on those step 4 questions and stuff. Don't you agree?
I started doing my work with my sponsor, distance. And I remember the very first time I was worried about it. I was like, I'd gone to his place every time, and it just got to a point where I was so broke I couldn't afford the fuel to drive over. And I went out, and at the end of it, I was like, hey, man, I'm like, this was really good for me. I'm like, was it good for you? And he's like, just the same. I'm like, except I get to be on my couch. I'm like, I like my couch better than your couch. And we've met up like a couple times since then. I went to his recent cake, and he came to mine, and I went to his place once. But honestly, like, I think it can be so crystal clear now. If I close my eyes, it's almost like the person's there. I gotta agree though with JJ about the in-person meetings for hugs. Like there ain't nothing like a real hug. There ain't nothing like a real
Very
hug.
true. Very
That
true.
feeling, that smell, that soul, like it's just a whole nother thing. And that's why, like, because I live in a little town where there's really not much going on in that respect. While I was down here, I'm like, I'm going to every in-person meeting I can. And that's why I started the meeting. I'm just like, I want to see recovery in front of my eyes because I'm somewhere that's more populated and it's easier.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
Well, you know
absolutely.
what's cool is that, and it's not that one is better than the other, but it's like a person, should not just stay on the Zoom platform and miss out on, on an in-person meeting, because it's just another dimension of
I think
recovery.
that there's like socializing behavioral things that people need to do in person. Like we've had some conflict on this other meeting, and to be quite honest, like some people have been really rude, and it's like people can text you weird things, but they wouldn't say that to your face, you know?
Beer goggles. Beer goggles, man.
Like and it's just like when somebody texts me something weird, I call them and I say, "Hey man, what are you really saying to me?"
I love
You
it.
know? And,
Yeah.
You want to
but the
fight?
thing is, though, is like like nobody's getting up and yelling at someone in an in-person meeting that I've seen.
No,
Like,
no.
you know what I mean? And
You get
and
a
they
chair
do
thrown
these
at you.
wild tirades on Zoom sometimes that I'm like, this just wouldn't happen in person. Like
Yeah.
these people are obviously not brave enough to go say that to someone. I know, but they look someone in the eyes and actually be that mean, and so I think that sometimes the in-person meeting is another level of socialization that could happen for addicts that should happen. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
because if we just Zoom only, we're never learning that face-to-face interaction, which is necessary to rebuild our lives as useful parts of society.
So I go to in-person meetings. I do, I do. I'm a Zoom baby. I started
Mm.
off on the in-person meetings, but I got clean on the screen. You know what I mean? Like I do taper in with that. But you're right, man. Nobody's gonna the people that come on here and talk all that negative stuff, man. It's the stuff that's in their mind, and they would go to an in-person meeting, sit there and be quiet as hell, man. Sit there and just shut the hell up, and they would just listen. They wouldn't come on here and just trash can the whole meeting, right?
But they might also get healed from hugs.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
Like they might just get hugged into happiness.
Hugged
Like,
in. That's
No, I've
as a
seen that.
bumper sticker. Hugging the happiness.
yeah, that's a good one.
I like it. So yeah,
Well,
so yeah, I would. Do you want to? I don't know, Milan, if you had maybe a question. I mean, I've got some things, but if you want to ask a question, we can get a round
no,
table.
you can go ahead if you got something.
So yeah. So look, it says in our Living Clean. Sometimes it can be very. Okay, so we start off in survival mode in this thing, and we come to live a life beyond our dreams. Even though we have heard it said in meetings for years, it can still be surprising when our world opens. And sometimes that can be very frightening. There are moments in life, there are moments when life opens up before us with so many options that it seems strangely empty. We who have chosen among bad options for years find that too often too many choices can make us really uncomfortable. We come to terms with our own resistance in order to make a commitment to the program. We may seem scared to take that leap. There's no way of knowing where it all takes us. And I struggle with that a lot, guys, is having too many options, right? And we open this broader discussion to like having all these meetings, having so many resources now. I find myself when I have too many options, I don't have an option. I find myself spinning circles, even if it's just for what's for dinner. If somebody, do you want this or this and this? Don't give me I don't want options. Just do it. And I do it like really fast and like almost in an uncomfortable way because I don't. Too many options make me feel empty. I feel like I'm out of control when I have too many options. So how do you find yourself not getting in that lane? And I'll ask you, JJ, first.
was afraid you're going to ask me first. You know,
Because FOMO. I know you got FOMO, boy. I know you
that's
got
right,
FOMO.
man. I mean, and somewhere in there's like, it's like a fucking thirst for too many options. Like, hey, what is there to do next? But it's a little like ADHD. I mean, I do get, and maybe I have that. I don't know. I just know that I have to admit when I get overwhelmed, with the options. Part of my makeup, though, is I freaking get off of. I like there being a lot of things to do. Now, listen, and I was talking about like recovering from, a near death event. It's like I survived a fucking heart attack that could have and did not end my life. Like I had a series of them, and I kept, and so I survived that. I had four-way bypass. Like I got strong muscle and now new pipes. So what am I going to do with it?
For Christmas.
I got it for Christmas. I paid for Brandon Strike. It came on Christmas Eve with a new freaking heart. So, it's like, I don't want to miss the gift. And if it's humility that slows us down to where it's not all about me, like doing shit, And the other morning, as I'm, recovering from this, and I'm very slowly, because I'm going from being allowed to lift a 9-pound gallon of milk to 15 pounds of firewood now. So, it's a slow recovery, and I don't want to get back into the ADHD mode, the FOMO mode, because what I think I said is that the fear of missing out, like I don't want to have a fear, and I probably miss out operating under that fear. I miss things because I'm chasing something that's maybe not even necessary, and what I was about to say was I'm tripping back to another podcast where we talked about discernment, and and this is what I really need to do, is be grateful that I'm still alive. I've got so much to be grateful for, and 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 I have things to do, but I think in a different direction. And what does that look like? I don't know. It doesn't mean I don't do service work. It doesn't mean I don't love this fellowship. It doesn't mean I don't love this person next to me and the people on this screen, But it's like to really appreciate it, because this life is so precious. So too many options, I can be a sucker for that. And I think, I pray, and I have to pray that I keep this awareness, of appreciating and slowing down and accepting, life on new terms. Milan will appreciate that. What am I going to accept? I'm going to accept life on new terms.
Acceptance.
If I don't see that, then it's my addict self thinks I'm just a slicky boy, right, that got away with another fucking deal, But no, that ain't what happened. God kept me around, like, to pay attention, and appreciate this life, and hope that you do as well.
Yeah, and we learn here that we only keep what we got by giving it away. And I always have the newcomer in mind that, keeps me going regularly to these in-person meetings, because there's so many newcomers that come in, and, if somebody's not there to welcome them with a warm hug.
She's a welcome queen right there, man.
Oh, God, she's a
Hey, I'm on the hug squad. Every convention I go to, I'm volunteering for that hug squad, and there's so many newcomers at conventions too. Yeah, I also heard here that willingness without action is just fantasy. Fantasy. And because I work night shift, there's other meetings in the middle of the night that I like to go to. And, sometimes, to be of service, to make that commitment, I have a problem with that kind of commitment of showing up regularly at different meetings, different times of the night. But I just do the best I can. I'm not perfect, and I don't have to be there every night, but I
You
just do my best.
you don't take well, you have taken service positions, but what I watch is that your willingness, you're just always giving to the newcomer, particularly, Matt. Making someone feel
Spread that
well.
hope and love, giving out
Yeah,
those two spiritual principles that we can, man. Hope and brotherly love, man. Just showing it that this
and
is
there's
attraction here, man. We get better
and there
here and we're happy.
and there's nothing more attractive than when a pretty girl walks up and wants to give you a hug for coming to
That's
visit.
right. That's right. We talk a lot about that humglum circle that we see on these commercials in society, right? Where it's everybody's got their head down, everybody's still a drug addict. Man, you got dancing queen around there, pop. You
Oh
can't
man,
even stop moving.
she's amazing, man.
You
She's
know,
freaking amazing. Yep, I do know.
if they had a picture of our meeting, if they had a picture of like NA meeting makers with everybody dancing around celebrating clean time, they would not think about, society would not be looking at us at like a bunch of assholes that can't get better.
Right.
So, what about
Took
you,
a wrong
Milan? What do you
turn.
think? You want me to ask that question
Well,
again? Kind of.
just the tail end of the question. The question
Yeah.
part. I don't need the whole reading.
Yeah. So
Yep.
obviously, a lot of us, when life opens up before us with many options, it seems strangely empty. The more options that we have, you seem more empty. So we have to choose among bad options for years that find too many choices, make us feel really uncomfortable, man. So how do you avoid that today?
Okay, so the first phrase that comes to mind when I think of that is "Jack of all trades, master of none." And it's kind of like, that's kind of almost what spreading myself too thin feels like. That I'm not getting the good part of anything.
Yeah.
Right.
And I find for myself, one of the things that I'm really like to be a stickler about is my routine. And so there's good chunks of my day that I really hope are unfuckwithable. Like I'm like, no, that's not what I'm gonna do then. And so right now I'm in a state of recalibrating that because I'm away. I'm away for long enough that I have to get myself into a schedule, but not long enough that I have all the things that I normally do in my
Yeah.
schedule,
Yeah.
So I definitely find make me if I split my brain up too many ways, like I like to fill my day, but I don't like to fill it so full that I'm full of expectations along with it.
Yeah.
Because that's what it pushes me into, is that like then I am trying to, this has got to be done and this has got
You're
to be done.
breeding resentments.
Exactly. And
Very well
and
said.
and so I'm just kind of right now trying to figure out the balance between making sure I'm walking on the beach at sunrise, getting my recovery, and watching the sunset.
Sounds
You know,
tough.
like
Sounds rough. Sounds rough.
this
Yeah.
this is the well, and also too, I got to make sure I'm swimming in the pool,
Oh
right?
yeah, that's right. Of course.
Yeah, because the pool's heated now, and and then checking and watching the whales because I really enjoy jamming with the whales in front of our place.
That puts it over the edge. I would not change the place with you for the world. No, never.
Oh
Man,
my God, I saw the whales so
Love
close
it.
yesterday.
Love it.
he sent me a picture the other day, and it looks like you look like you're in a painting, man. Like it's not real. Like your background is so serene and so beautiful. I'm just like, there's no way he's in that. That's not a surrounding that he's in.
Yeah, it's not a Zoom background. I'm not like
Yeah.
No, I'm so jealous that we got to keep this connection going because this time next year, I'd like to be in Mexico, bro.
boom.
Hell yeah.
You know,
So
I got a year to get passports together.
So in terms of the question for me, I think where that comes into play is when I'll keep it on me. When I first started getting clean, it was hard to identify into a certain I didn't know how this thing worked, right? I didn't know how this thing worked. Some meetings felt really good. Some just kept me clean, which I was like, okay, that works too. But at the beginning, I really struggled with that because I was coming out of that addiction. I was thawing out, right? I say that a lot, thawing out, and those emotions and feelings hit you, and you don't have those drugs masking it, so we don't really know how to. I didn't know how to process those properly, and it still was everything was uncomfortable at that time, and so I think the too many options making us feel empty happens a lot. It happened a lot with me in the beginning of recovery, but now, um, as I stayed with the people that I stayed with, right? I was told to kind of find people that have what you want and follow them, right? And even social acceptability does not equal response recovery. We even talked about that on a podcast the other day. But like even when I came in here, I didn't know what to do but just act as if, right? Like I just tried to emulate these people as I was doing an active addiction. Milan and I talk about it a lot. Like we felt like we were walking around in a painting, not breathing the same air people were when we were in active addiction, right? It was just this lethargic painting, and we would mock them. We would, because we don't really know what else to do. How are they walking around? But, that's how upstanding people walk around. Like, okay, I'll act like that. So when I came in here, I did the same thing, but in the opposite way. I acted as if, you know, that was my life and I wanted that to be my life. And even if you fake it till you make it, look, fake your fucking ass off until you get it, till it hits. I don't care what you got to do, man. You act like that person you want to be like, or if somebody has something that you like. Here's another thing. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Like if somebody has something you want, ask them how they did it. This is another theme. Humility. It's not a sign of weakness to ask somebody how they did something special. Because you know what? Milan, right? People love fucking talking about themselves. And you just might be surprised if you ask them, they're gonna tell you everything about it and let you take notes. Right? So that's how people get places in this world. As an addict, we don't want to ask people for shit. Right? When I grew up, that men don't ask for directions and all that shit. Well, okay, so you want to get lost in the wilderness because you don't want to ask for directions? Come on, what is wrong with us? And so I flip it around to like I ask for help. I ask for I lean into what feels good, that gut unconditional love feeling that I know I was nothing. I was nothing at one point, and I became something because of love. I know that love made me, and so now that I have seen all these options and explored all these things, I've been able to and thought out more and heard this message. I can narrow down now where I need to be, knowing that I've got a worldwide fellowship. I got a lot of things I haven't even tackled, and I have all these new things I can tackle if I want to, which is exciting to me. Right? It keeps me enthusiastic about my program, which is something my sponsor tells me all the time. You got to stay enthusiastic about this thing. And so that's what, I hone in on staying in that lane now, knowing that at any time I can veer out there and get some more contacts or get another flavor of recovery from the wetlands in England or whatever I got to do. Right. There's 24-hour meetings that are based over there. There's 24-hour meetings that are based over here. I know that even though I'm very, very set in my recovery program now, that I have other options, and there's a whole world out there that I haven't even tapped into, which is really exciting to me. And I know that this thing I can stay moving, man. The disease can't hit a moving target, man. So I keep it moving. I keep all my options open. But what I do once I find one that I love, and I get that feeling I stay. Like I'm very, very loyal to our meetings, right? Global Love Bus, NA Makers. I do service for unity. Like I love these groups that I'm part of, and it's how I show love to everybody in those groups, even though if I'm not connected to them like I am with you two, right? Or with Milan, right? Because I can reach out and we can actually love each other one-on-one, and I could do that with them too, but it's a way to do it in a mass setting,
But you do it in a vast setting. It's like you don't select, bro.
No.
You've got this love that nails who's ever in whatever meeting that you're in, and it's just the way God made you. Hey, and listen, I hate to book, but I've got to go into this appointment. but
That's all good.
Tracy's
Well,
gonna finish out a little bit with us.
yeah, Trace will finish with you, and but you know that fake it till you make it. This occurred to me as you said that, right? Is that faking it till you make it? It's like, I it, it may be that like we were so fake to begin with, like if we may be faking ourselves into accepting the truth of who we are. You know what I mean? Like fake it till you make it is a big ass trick because really you're faking it to realize who you are. I don't know. That tripped me
Yeah.
out. I love you
Yeah.
guys. And
Love
I'll
you,
see you
man.
later.
Hey, good luck in your
Love you,
appointment.
JJ.
Thank you for being here. Look,
Love you guys.
JJ, love you guys. So yeah, that's really, really cool, man. That's really cool. That was my answer to it. I didn't know if you maybe had a question for us, Milan, or if you just want to continue on around. I know we got about 10, 12, 15 minutes, something like that.
I think I'm good. I think we should just call it and just say thank you to
Yeah.
Tracy for coming on for her first episode. Hope
Love
we're
you,
gonna have you back
Trey.
on.
I'm so grateful I got to meet you guys. Yeah.
Have you been listening to the podcast? Have you been listening to it a little bit?
Yeah, the people that like I recognize their name, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But yeah,
We're trying to
Brandy.
pump them out. We're pumping them out because we want people to come in here. Because I know when early on in recovery, I listened to podcasts and speaker tapes. They kept me alive, changed my life. So,
That's right.
yeah, thank you
got
for
a lot
being a
of
part
good
of this.
sayings that you've learned from others.
I have this like it's like a what is it? A photographic memory thing. It's a weird thing that I like. And look, I'm good at it, so I'm gonna spread it out. So again, thank you for being here. We're gonna ask you to be on again, okay?
Great. You guys are
Tune
great
in
speakers.
next time
Thank
for
you.
more recovery fun.
Love you guys. See ya. See ya.
Bye.
Please help us help others. If you've liked what you've seen here today, please subscribe and share this podcast and help us get to 100 followers. We're looking for interaction with our audience. So please email recoveryfreedomrising@gmail.com or contact Milan South Okanagan Starcic on Facebook with questions, topic suggestions, or just comments. We'd love to hear from you.